My name is Thomas O'Regan. I'm a professional property investor here in Australia. Over the last 4 years, me and my wife have 20x'd our properties portfolio equity position, and we're about to leverage up into the next stage of our property portfolio. Just wanted to talk about how loans work with you guys today. If you were wondering how come these loans aren't getting approved, or why is this taking so long, or what is the mechanics behind how home loans work and investment loans, buying properties, that sort of stuff. Now, obviously you have the mortgage broker or the lender at the top. It's the first point of contact for you as the person, the investor, to get a loan. Okay, so it's basically this broker or lender's duty of care to make sure that you are a responsible person and you are able to pay this loan. They don't effectively, they don't want to be, the banks don't want to be lending to someone that is going to be a risk or that is going to have financial hardship. So it's their duty of, because that's unresponsible lending, it's their duty of care to believe that you are going to be okay. So a lot of brokers, and this can be a barrier for investors that have large property portfolios, a lot of brokers don't comprehend, they can't comprehend like someone's successful vision, they can't comprehend the function of a large portfolio and how it's not risky. You might, as the investor, you might view it as not risky, whereas they might view it as extremely risky. They don't comprehend what's going on, right? So that might be a huge issue for you if you're trying to build a large property portfolio. You need to align with a broker that is going to believe in your vision and help you get there. Because I've come across a lot of lenders, a lot of brokers that will say like, well, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think you can service that much debt, or I think you should calm down, and all sorts of fucking bullshit, which is their personal perspective on the situation. They don't, unfortunately, they don't have like an objective view of investing. They don't understand the function of investing. They don't, for example, with me, I purchase investment properties that are positive cash flow. So it doesn't matter how large my debt gets, because at every point of my portfolio, the rental income covers all the expenses and the mortgage. So it doesn't matter if I have $1 million of debt, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, $1 billion of debt, because at any point in that fucking property portfolio, the mortgage will service everything. So I'll never be at risk. I could be in Bali on a holiday, in France, in Italy. I could be sleeping. The whole thing is paying for itself. A lot of novice investors, which are brokers as well, they have property portfolios which are highly negative cash flow, and they can't sleep at night, or it gives them huge amounts of stress. So they look at me and they say, whoa, your debt is like 3, 4, 5 times the size of mine, and maybe my income is lower than theirs, or it isn't, or it's larger, it doesn't matter. But they're like, whoa, that's you can't do that, like that's not possible. So basically, if you want to build a large property portfolio, you want to get a loan approved, align with a broker that thinks that it's achievable to do whatever you're trying to do. Okay, obviously they have policies, calculators, and all that sort of stuff that have got to fit within. You've got to fit within the equation. I'm not saying you can obviously you need a job and income to support a loan, 101, right? But if it's within the achievable limits, they should be helping you there, unless they have some sort of weird personal belief that it's not possible because they're spastics. Shouldn't have said that. Anyway, the next step in the mortgage or the loan process is the creditor. So every mortgage broker or lender will have to put the application through someone that is called a creditor. And I guess in America they call the creditor, maybe they call the creditor the underwriting team. Okay, so the creditor is the person that reviews the file, reviews or everything, and says, within our policy, these are where we can bend the rules, and these are where we can't. For example, like it might be within the bank's policy where the lender works that they can only accept double time or overtime income after a 6-month period. But you can argue, that's a policy, right? But you can argue with the creditor, who's the person that approves whether this loan is going to get approved or not, that the person that otherwise couldn't afford the loan can actually afford the loan because they get double time, which the bank's not considering as income because they haven't worked at that job for 6 months yet. But for example, you can tell a story to the creditor and say, yes, this person is newly employed at this job and they've only been working there for 3 months. I know our policy says that they need 6 months of employment for that double time to be assessed as their income, but they actually worked at this job for 10 years, 1 year prior. So they actually have kind of been working there for a very long time already. So, and this double time, this overtime pay is very consistent with this job, as you can see through their last 10 years of pay slips. And then at that point, the creditor might say, okay, I will use the overtime pay to help their borrowing capacity, therefore being able to borrow more money, purchase that property at that higher value that you otherwise couldn't purchase. Now, with the creditor, you actually need a broker or a lender which has a good relationship with the creditor, because you can have a broker that's very good and very capable. If the broker meets a creditor that they're not familiar with, and that creditor is an asshole or a hard ass or very critical about something that should be able to get done but they can't see the vision, then your potential for getting a loan will go down the toilet, right? Which is super unfortunate, right? Now, basically, the better the broker is, the better relationships they'll have with the creditor. They'll understand how critical it is to have a good relationship with the creditor, and they will also understand how to tell a story to a creditor. But those are important points, like relationships, becoming successful. This is a bit off topic, but becoming successful is very much about relationships and relationship building, because for example, a mortgage broker that works with a creditor and they both trust each other will be a much more successful experience for the client, the borrower, because it will be very easy in each other's. Whereas if there was a new broker, a novice, a junior, and he didn't really understand how to do what, and he was very skeptical about everything because he doesn't know what a loan is and he doesn't know what debt is and all that sort of stuff, then he's probably going to knock back the application when it comes to him, which is shit, right? And one more thing, your broker here, when you have a very strong broker, and they believe in your vision, they can push for you with that creditor, and they can sometimes go over the top of the creditor. For example, if they approach the creditor potentially tries to reject the application, they can say, listen, this is ridiculous. This is a broker or a lender speaking to the creditor. I'm going to go to your senior boss. Obviously, they need to have a good relationship with the senior boss. I will, if you don't sort this out, and they can escalate that and get it over the line. That's where a good broker comes in, right? But a good broker needs to be able to tell a good story to a creditor, and they need to have a strong relationship with the creditor. That's how you get a mortgage approved, and that's all I wanted to share with you guys today. So hopefully if this helps, just leave me a comment or a thumbs up. Good luck getting your loans. It's good to understand the mechanics of it, how it all works. It helps you become more successful.